Hello and welcome to Surveillance Bridge. In this video, we will show you how to set up an extension in Surveillance Bridge of your video management recording storage to a public or a private cloud, or even to another local storage option. We have a demo environment where Milestone XProtect is currently running as a VMS. In the Playback tab, we can see existing camera recordings, as noted by the red color on the timeline. If we check the management client, there is currently one recording server configured, with 2 storage locations, and the default location is almost full. We will set up an extension for it to make sure we have enough room to save new camera recordings. To do that, we need to go to the respective extension section under the Surveillance Bridge configuration in the management client. The extension can be set up independently or together with disaster recovery. To learn more about installing Surveillance Bridge or setting it up for disaster recovery, please check out our disaster recovery video. In the extension section, you can find the same servers and storage locations as those configured in the recording server section. You have the option to enable an immediate or an archive tier extension for any storage location which may need to be extended. For our demo, we will enable an immediate tier extension for the first storage volume. Clicking the Enable button allows us to select a cloud provider or an on-premises storage option of our choice. If you have already set up Surveillance Bridge for disaster recovery, you will not have to enter the cloud provider details again. The same provider and bucket will be added automatically and used for the extension. Extension with Surveillance Bridge does not duplicate your camera data if disaster recovery is also enabled. If DR is not already in use, make sure to select a different bucket for each storage location you would like to extend to the cloud. We will select this particular bucket to be used. Once the extension is enabled, it can also be configured. With the Configure button, you can select either by age, if you want to keep data locally for a specific amount of time, or by size, to keep it until your local drive reaches a specified capacity threshold. If you already have a working environment, you probably know that your local storage is enough for keeping, let's say, 10 days of camera data. And you can set your extension to kick in on the 5th day. So 5 days worth of data will be kept locally, and everything other than that will be sent to the remote storage option. By size can be quite helpful when you want to keep a specific percentage of the local storage, enough for a certain amount of data, free during normal operation. This gives you the required buffer in case of a problem. When either condition is met, the content is first replicated to the cloud, then removed locally and replaced by 0-byte stub files. Data is safely kept in the cloud until the retention time set on your storage volume is met. The default is by 95% of the size. Let's go by 1 hour age for the demo. Once the configuration is complete, we can use the switch to resume Surveillance Bridge. Within a minute, it will display the percentage of local data which has been replicated to the cloud. If your cloud provider supports an archive tier, Surveillance Bridge allows you to leverage it with the archive extension option. In the case of an archived video, it will first need to be manually recalled before it can be viewed on the timeline. For most archive cloud tier providers, it will not be immediately available. To illustrate the results of our actions, we need to go back to the Smart Client and its Playback tab. There, we can see that the timeline now has a light blue overlay for the data replicated to the cloud and no longer taking up space on the local storage. Light green is shown for the data which is yet to free up space. This visual indication confirms that the camera data is stored securely in the cloud, but still available for immediate recall. If you want to view a part of this recording, simply move to the desired place on the timeline and click the play button. The camera data will be retrieved from the cloud provider and played back from the VMS as if it were local. When everything is all set, we can return to the management client and reflect the extension there. We can edit the storage volume and make it bigger. Let's say 500 GB in size. This is not local storage anymore. The local physical storage is smaller. It is now storage backed by the cloud. The extension gives us the ability to store much more camera data on the same recording volume. Another thing to consider is enabling archive tier usage. If we go back to the extension menu and enable archive, we can set our policy. For our example, we will move recordings not accessed for more than 1 day and select standard rehydration priority. This will reduce rehydration costs, but requires more time to get the data back from the archive tier if needed. You can always change this configuration later as well. If we switch to the Smart Client, we can see a dark blue overlay on some parts of the timeline, which indicates recordings currently in the archive tier. The recording offline screen will appear if we move the timeline there. We can create a job for which we would like to get the data back from the archive to the immediate tier. A warning message will show up because the costs that will be applied for the rehydration procedure might be significant. Depending on the priority selection earlier, camera data will be rehydrated from Azure Archive tier to the immediate tier within 1 hour for high priority, or 15 hours for standard priority. Note that rehydration times for archive tiers vary from one cloud vendor to the other, with some even offering immediate access to archived material. This concludes our video, showing you how to set up Surveillance Bridge to extend your on-premises storage to the cloud. Thank you for viewing.